Welcome back, business besties. Today we're going to have real talk. Today I'm sharing some of the imperfect things that happened at the beginning. The truth is, for example, my office, my very first solo office that I spent a good 5 years in and hired my first few people in, because as you know, I always say, use your office first. And I filled my one office evenings and weekends where I can go home with the twins. And I didn't get the nice office until later. I want you to know that. Probably there are moments where you're like, oh, I wonder where Nicole was and I need to be where she was. Or maybe it was easy and perfect. It was not always easy and perfect. I want to share a few things with you. Grab the popcorn. These are some serious stories. Are you ready? So first, I don't know if I've ever told you this part. I almost didn't have a group practice. I had an intern who I had told that, yeah, you could work with me. She reached out way years ago and had said, I'd like to pick your brain about private practice. And then 2 years later, she's like, oh, I'm doing my internship. Can I do it with you? And so I had said yes. And then I got pregnant with twins. And then I went back to her. I feel kind of bad about this. I went back to her and I said, you know what? I can't. I'm a new mom. It's a lot. I just want to focus on how to do the two baby thing. I'm so sorry. I can't. And it almost stopped there. I would not be in front of you. None of the group practice would happen. And she came back and she said, please, please, please take me on. And I said, I don't know if I can give you hours. And I don't want to stress about giving you hours. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in Mummyville. And she came back again and she's like, you know what? I don't even care if you give me my hours. I will do it with you. And then if I don't get my hours, I'm okay with like having to do a second internship. And I'm like, holy cow, this woman will not take no for an answer. But do you feel that in your life, there's signs that you should be doing a certain thing? That was a sign. That was synchronicity. That was the universe saying that this is what you're supposed to be doing, Nicole. And thank God she kept pushing. And thank God I said, okay, fine, we'll try. We'll try. Let's do this. We'll try. And then she got busy and the rest is history. But I want to share that, holy cow, it was a bit of a nightmare. And a lot of the nightmare actually had to do with my office. have you ever been in a situation and you don't realize how bad it is until later? I actually had a moment last night. It was funny. I was looking at an old photo of my kids and we had given them really bad haircuts. Boys shouldn't have long bangs. Anyway, we let it go. And I was looking back at these photos and in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I have to like say sorry to my children. They're going to look back at those photos and be like, Mom, like, what were you thinking? But in the moment, their hair just got long and I didn't notice. So if you ever have those moments, okay. So my office, I didn't know it at the time. It was like a bad haircut that I did not know, was old. We'll start with that. Was old. And later when I moved out of it, it wasn't until later that my clients, when I moved into a nice office at Islington and Bloor, if you know Toronto at all, like glass, the most beautiful office you can think of, that my clients said, like that office reminded me of like Miami Vice. It was just a very, very old building with an old elevator. If you have any of this, it's okay. This is where I started. You have to start somewhere. So if you haven't started yet because you think, well, I'm not there yet, it's not perfect yet. I bet at the beginning for Nicole, it was like easy and perfect. It was not. My intern actually ended up getting busy. I introduced neurofeedback and we were doing a training together. So I was like, you know what? There's a virtual training. It's 8 hours long. Do you want to come to the office? We'll sit side by side and do this training. And she's like, amazing. So it was a really fun day. Now, this is my office. I had to take out my own garbage. They wouldn't allow me to put perishables in the garbage. And so I would bring things like carrots and hummus and apples for snacks, but I would have to bring my own garbage home. Okay. So at the end of the day, I would take all my perishables, anything that like I couldn't put in their garbage. And some days I would have a bag of garbage, guys, garbage. And I would be walking out. It was not fancy in the beginning. And I would put it in my car and I would be driving home with my garbage. But on this day, I took the garbage out. So there was a break during our training. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to run downstairs and take the garbage out. I had this big bag of garbage. I go in the elevator and I go to the scary basement, a place I didn't like to go because I get kind of scared easy. I think I'm still afraid of the dark. Don't tell anybody. Now, the door opens, got this bag of garbage. I'm just going to throw it in the dumpster, close the door. But on this very day, when the door opened, I see a body laying on the ground. Okay. It is a Saturday. Nobody is in the office except me and my new intern. This is an imperfect moment because I'm about to tell her that I found a dead body. Don't worry, it wasn't dead or I wouldn't be giggling, in the basement. So I look, it appears to be a man. He's in a snowsuit. It is winter, a very colorful snowsuit. He looks very, very, I don't know, bloated. I wasn't sure if it was just a snowsuit. And he looked unconscious. So anyway, I closed the door because I wasn't really sure what was happening. I was in shock. I ran as fast as I could, back up the elevator, ran into the room. And so if you're thinking you need to be the perfect boss, well, I bet you never turned to your new intern and said, Nikita, I'm so sorry. We're just going to have to pause the training for 1 minute. I just have to call the building because I think I found a dead body. True story. I pick up my phone. I call the landlord. I'm like, hi, there's a person. They're not moving. They're in the basement. They don't look well. They're in a snowsuit. He calls the authorities. All this is happening. Okay. Can you imagine when she went home that day and her husband turned to her and said, how's the internship going? Oh, it's pretty good, except this happened. The authorities come and thank goodness he was alive. He was just on crack, cocaine, and he ran away. So we had a homeless problem. And sometimes that would happen. But wait, there's more. Another time, I'm at home and she Voxes me. We use Voxer. Look that up. Okay, voxer.com. It's amazing. It's a real-time way you can chat. She's now alone in the building doing therapy. She sends me a Vox and I have babies. And I brought one of my kids to get neurofeedback. So I bring my kids to the office quite often. And they were at the age where they would put things in their mouth, like everything in their mouth. And I get a Vox from her and I'll never forget this. She has a very young voice. She was young, but her voice was even younger. And she's like, hi, Nicole, sorry to bother you on a Saturday. I think I found a crack pipe in the hall. Just curious what I do with it. If you can let me know, thanks. She sends me a picture and I don't even know what this is. It's like a little jar. And I show it to my husband and he's like, yes, Nicole, that's a crack pipe. I'm like, oh my God, I just had Lucas in the office a couple of days ago walking. It was in the hall, not in my actual office, but it was in the hallway, kind of between the bathroom and my office. The bathroom was in the hall. And what if a child picked that up? Oh my gosh, this was my beginning. She stayed. I don't know how she stayed. I think it was because you're going to have these messy moments. It was who I was being. Obviously I took care of the problem. I reached out to the landlord, we need better security. And eventually I moved, thank goodness. But I was saving up. So I just want you to know it is not always perfect, especially if you're saving the money and trying to get busy, but it does get better because I do not carry my garbage outside anymore. Of course, you see my life now, but there was a time where I had my stinky garbage beside me and it came with me home. Then there was the time that I had an oil change. So I got an oil change. I drive a Mercedes and they have a shuttle. So they'll drive you to work while your car or truck is getting the oil change. And I'm actually friends with the shuttle guy. His name is Norm because I see him quite a bit. And he always wants to hear about my neurofeedback clinic and my therapy clinic. He drops me off. Now, he was to pick me up at about 5 p.m. and it's in the winter, okay? Or almost the winter. It was raining. So it was cold and it went dark. So it's 5 p.m. and it's dark and he's here to pick me up, just waiting outside the building. Now, he thinks he sees me, but he can't really see because there's a lot of rain happening and it's pretty dark. He sees somebody standing at the front of my building. She looks like me, long hair. And so he is looking, she's not coming. He's looking, she's not coming. He finally gives her a wave. She approaches the vehicle. But then as she approaches the vehicle, he sees that she's smoking a cigarette and he thinks, I didn't know Nicole smoked. But then she gets into the front seat now. She opens the door. And the moment she opened the front door, which would be weird for me to do that, he realized that it's a sex worker. She now gets into the vehicle and he's quite flustered, poor Norm. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. No, no, no. And he's thinking, I'm going to lose my job. Nicole is about to come out and see me with a sex worker. And she's like, oh, okay, sorry, miscommunication here. She gets out. He's quite flustered. I have no idea what any of this has happened. I walk out. I'm like, hey, Norm, how's it going? I'm in the back seat. And I could tell he's like looking at me, staring, kind of sweating, kind of shaking. And he tells me all of this. This was my old office. If you don't have any of this, I want to tell you that you were way ahead of where I was. But I'll tell you something. These stories will end up being kind of funny stories that you look back like, I can't believe that happened. But in the moment, it could be quite stressful. In the moment, I'm thinking, okay, I'm just building. It's all new to me. I don't have the money yet. I'm in this office and now all of these things are happening. I'm in Toronto. I'm in an area in Toronto that isn't great, I'm realizing. And just know though, that it's not going to be forever. Take all of the lessons with you. You've seen my clinic and where I ended up. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to where I ended up to motivate you. So you're like, okay, even though I'm here, it doesn't mean that it will be forever. And I'll tell you now, Nikita and I haven't seen her in a while after I sold, of course, but years later, we would laugh and I'd be like, oh my gosh, Nikita, do you remember the crack pipe? Do you remember what we thought was a dead body? How did you stay in the internship? Like most people probably would have left, would have been like, oh my God, I'm like in the wrong place. But I think it's who you are, that they want to work with you, your conviction, your vision, your belief, that you believe in how powerful you are and they feel that and they want that and they stay. Things went wrong and I still ended up here. I want to leave you with this. It's going to be messy, but it's going to be worth it. It's probably going to be messy. Isn't that part of the fun and the excitement? But I promise you, you will always end up, always, where you're supposed to be. I'll see you next week.